So are you one of those that's freaking out about the cap space for the Miami Dolphins? Well, you hit the right video. Welcome back, Dolph fans. So today we're going to be going over, honestly, how the Dolphins can clear up $40 million in cap space and be decent going into this free agent offseason. And it's not going to be by doing a bunch. It's just going to be doing what you need to do. And again, this is what happens with the NFL season. You know, the Bills, we are way under the cap and everybody starts freaking out. You guys got to you have to calm down. You have to know that there's always a way to free up cap space. You know, the cap is always fluctuating. I know it's like a crazy topic. And when you're discussing the Dolphins, what they've been doing that has been the problem is not the finagling. Like Chris Greer can finagle the cap to get it to a high enough number. It's what they've been doing with it, where they've been whiffing on draft picks and they've been signing high-end free agents that kind of don't turn out the way that we want them to. You know, like the pure, for instance, of Bradley Chubb is one of the biggest things that you see. Now, of course, we were looking into it, and, you know, the issue with that was, which is tough, is because Bradley Chubb at that time was one of the top guys. But we gave away a first-round draft pick. And what you're kind of thinking of here with Chris Greer, and this is why he's kind of sucked throughout the whole tenure, is that you gave away a first-round draft pick for a person that's basically played only like 1 year and has made $60 million so far. So, you know, this is the problem that we can't do. And this is what we have to do in this offseason. They're going to finagle it, and you're going to see there's a few tweaks, and you're good to go. You know, unfortunately, they have to do these tweaks. But you're going to finagle the cap space. But the key to this is retaining a lot of players and signing key players that aren't 35 years old, injury prone. You know, they hit on Jordan Brooks. That's the thing. Chris Greer sometimes hits on players. Jordan Brooks, Zach Sealer, who else? You know, even the Chop Robinson pick. I mean, some people are arguing it, but I think Chop did a fantastic job this year. He hits on some things. So what we're praying and hoping, which there's a possibility, is that Chris Greer finally learns from his mistakes and that he doesn't go bargain bin shopping, but he re-signs the players that we have on this team, and he just puts in key players that we need. Like, for instance, this year, I think strongly that a free agent safety, you input a free agent safety and you put some offensive linemen, and then you leave the rest of the draft and you really, really pinpoint the draft. So we'll get into it right now. So this is what we're going to be doing. You want to understand that we don't want to do, now of course Mike McDaniel might do it, but you don't want to continue doing what you've been doing, putting guaranteed money and then adding that in the back end for every contract. But this is going to be the way that we clear up cap space this offseason in order to be able to sign some new players. So what I want to do is the direction that I'm going to be going with this is that some of the players, if you give them extensions, you know, right now, we'll go with cutting who we're going to cut. And I think, you know, first off the bat, you know, Raheem Mostert's great, but that's why we drafted Jalen Wright. You know, you have Devon Achane, you have Jalen Wright. You can even draft somebody in this offseason. So he's going to be a cap casualty, and you're going to see right now it's going to go from $15 million under the cap to $12 million under the cap. So you want to see what else. So now Durham Smythe, another guy that is just kind of not really contributing at all. So we're going to cut Durham Smythe. That's going to leave you with $10 million under the cap. Now you're going to look around. Jason Sanders is an option, but I think he played pretty well to continue having him on this roster. You know, Jonnu Smith, Jake Bailey. This is a person that I think maybe, you know, could be another option. You know, if you cut him, it's only $550. So I'm just going to keep him because I don't think that you need to. Channing Tindall is going to be another one. Give him a release. It's not going to be a lot, but I just don't think Channing Tindall needs to be on this team. He just hasn't turned out to be anything. You're going to see we're at $9 million now. So now you basically got everybody that you need to cut. Maybe you can cut Izukanma. I don't know. I would keep him. But you got everyone that you want right now. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, honestly, we've seen the potential from Jalen Phillips. I know he can't stay healthy so far, but here's the thing. You want to create some cap space. You extend Jalen Phillips. You do a 3-year. Honestly, at this point, you could be getting a bargain because he's not going to go for a whole bunch. He's been injured, so you're probably going to be getting a 3-year, maybe like a $35-40 million contract. So we'll say $40 million. We'll put that in there. 3-year, $40 million contract. And it might even be too much. Let's do 3-year, $35 million. So you got that 3-year, $35 million, and you're going to see the cap hit now, instead of being $13 million, is going to be $1 million if you extend Jalen Phillips. So we're going to extend him. As you see, now we're over the cap. You got $2 million in cap space. I think you personally need to sign Jalen Phillips because this is what this does. His cap hit is nothing this year. So then you're over the cap. Now, most likely the cap is going to go up. That's kind of just the way that it's going to be. I wouldn't touch these players right here. You could try and do a conversion with Bradley Chubb, but that's just going to be putting more on the back end. I don't know. This might be a trade. Bradley Chubb might be someone that you can trade out of this team. But when you hit $2 million, the cap space is going to go up. You could be doing a conversion with Tua, and that might be, that would give you a ton of space, because these are the contracts that really kill us. Bradley Chubb, Teron Armstead a little bit, but this was one of the worst. Unfortunately, we gave up a first-round draft pick for Bradley Chubb. So what I kind of see this offseason is, since we're probably going to be getting a pass rusher in the draft, we have Chop. You extend Jalen Phillips, the young guy. Bradley Chubb is going to be 30 years old. You see what you can do with him. If you can maybe get a trade and have some draft picks, that could be a possibility. Because, let's see, if you trade him, it goes to $4 million. Nah, it's not. I don't like that. That's not too much. It's going to go up to $4 million. I'm not too into that. So we'll put him back. As you can see, this is what kind of happens when you do what you've been doing. Xavier Howard with the back end, it's $15 million that we're still paying Xavier Howard after this year. So this is kind of how you free up some cap space. Now, you can do a conversion with, I would say the only one that you do it with is maybe Teron Armstead. Convert the money, then you get $13 million. Unfortunately, this is going to be putting it on the back end. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're putting this on the back end. But then, if you do that, a conversion for Tua, you now have $33 million in cap space this year from doing these couple of moves. Now, that's not including if someone trades for Bradley Chubb. It's going to be $33 million is a good start, and then probably go up by $20 million. So you probably have $50 million coming into this year out of this conversion and, cutting some of these players. But, I think the key to all of this is you want to sign the young guys. You want to sign the guys like Jalen Phillips before they hit that free agent part where they just become astronomically expensive, because Jalen Phillips, it was a freak accident this year. A freak accident where Jordan Boyer slammed into his knee, but he was having another great year coming off of that. So I think the key to this is, if you sign Jalen Phillips to an extension, not only do you knock two birds out of the stone, where you keep your pass rusher, instead of doing what we've continually done, which is letting them hit free agency, and he becomes a $60 million player. He's been injured. Sign him for 3 years, get an extension on him, and clear up some of that cap space. And then you just do the conversion on Teron Armstead and Tua. I don't know what Teron Armstead is going to do, but, I don't think he's going to want to be shaken down. He's an old guy. He's almost in his 40s. So you just convert that money, and there you go. You end up having $33 million in cap space. But that's kind of what you need to do. Don't know what's happening with Tyreek Hill or Bradley Chubb. I'm pretty sure they're going to be on the team because you don't really want to get rid of your best players just for the pure fact of this is the only year that Mike McDaniel has. But yeah, as you can see, if you take Bradley Chubb, that's something that we'll see what happens, throughout the year. I think even a June 1st cut might be something because you can clear up some more cap space. But if you literally just cut Raheem Mostert and some of the players that haven't been really contributing this year, and you end up converting 2 players, you can free up literally $40 million in cap space. And you can be going to this, you don't want to do more than that, which we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, Chris Greer is one of those people that, I don't know, he might convert like 5 different people again this year. And, we'll have like $80 million in cap space. But, next year we're going to be bummed. But you have to understand, if you do this right now, of course we're putting Tua and, Teron Armstead, putting them on the back burner. But at the end of this year, this coming year, the reason why that's great is because Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, who else is there? Jalen Ramsey. All of these players can be cut and free up cap space. So next year, if we have the same coaching staff or if we have a different coaching staff, all these players that are hundreds of millions of dollars, they all can be cut and we can start fresh if this year doesn't work. Not saying that I want that. I don't really want a rebuild. I kind of want to just stay where we're at and keep doing what we've been doing. If we have success this year, if we build an offensive line, I would like to continue because as the Super Bowl shows, you don't need like a high-end quarterback and all that. You just need to build the team around it. The whole team is built right. And the key to the Philadelphia Eagles is that most of their players are young, so they're just continually filtering out young players and re-signing their players. That's the philosophy that they need to have in this offseason. You need to see that if you have this philosophy, building the right team, not around one player or 2 players, Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill. If you have not a Tyreek Hill, but you have Jalen Waddles throughout the entire team, like I'm not saying like every single player is Jalen Waddle, but I'm saying like the skill level of where Jalen Waddle, right now, 1,000-yard receiver, does his thing, makes crazy plays, but, isn't a Tyreek Hill. Of course, you need some big names. But if you made it so the whole entire team is the skill level of Jalen Waddle, where you have good offensive linemen, good receivers, good running backs, good quarterback, good defensive ends, good defensive tackles, good linebackers, instead of having a Tyreek Hill that's a $120 million player, having a Jalen Ramsey that's a $90 million player, having a freaking Bradley Chubb who's a $90 million player, and these players aren't even playing up to these contracts. It's like Tyreek Hill didn't even hit 1,000 yards this year. I know he had the arm and everything like that. Tyreek Hill didn't even hit 1,000 yards. Bradley Chubb didn't even play. Teron Armstead doesn't ever finish a season. Jalen Ramsey got cooked a lot of the season. You know what I'm saying? So it's like these guys aren't even living up to their contracts. So when you look at this free agency and you look at what we can do with the cap hit, this needs to be so much more of just putting in a couple players and making sure all your players play up to the contracts. This is the reason why you build on rookies, because rookies play past their contract. They play past the $8 million that they'll get, for the year. This is why you want to build through the draft and supplement through free agency instead of building through free agency and maybe getting a couple players from the draft. So this is going to be the key to this offseason is that you do that we have so many draft picks. You even look at my mock draft, like there's a lot of players in this draft. Unfortunately, I didn't realize we had a supplementary or a comp pick for the 3rd round. So that's my fault. I'm going to make another mock draft with a 3rd round pick. But if you can build through the draft, supplement through free agency, guys, you can build a team after this year. Like we have the pieces, and next year, all these $100 million players, they're going to be cuttable for increasing the cap to like 80 million next year if you don't screw this up. If you can build this team right, make it a run, like keep all the players that you have. Like I know I was one of those saying trade Tyreek Hill. I'd say keep some of these players. Bradley Chubb's going to play this year. Tyreek Hill's going to play this year. Keep these players. Let them make a difference so that next year you can go to the playoffs, hopefully win a playoff game, and the next year you can have the draft picks that you have from this year, build off of them through the next year's draft, and be able to cut these guys to be able to sign players or re-sign players that you need to re-sign. But that's going to be key to the Dolphins' success. It's going to be right now. This is what we see in free agency is going to be what determines this season, because free agency is first and then the NFL draft. Those two things, we're going to see what happens, but those two things are going to determine if Chris Greer has learned or if we get another free agent that's like a $60 million safety, instead of signing an offensive lineman. That's going to be the key, is that free agency period. We'll see what he does. But as always, guys, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Comment who you would want into getting free agency, or if you want to trade Bradley Chubb or keep him, or trade Tyreek Hill or keep him. Let me know if you guys want to do those in the comments, or if you just want to keep both those guys and just run it back. So, as always, guys, fins up, baby. Love you all. Peace.